the concept of the panel, visual art and crisis in global models, and trying to see what could be, like trying to sort of experience or trying to establish what it would be to respond to that questions from the perspective from an African perspective or from an African territory. Right? In order to do so, what I wanted to do is to introduce you some of my projects and also introduce some of the artistic collectives that I've been researching on. So I will skip the whole introduction and I will go straight forward. Just to let you know that as a curator, I started to work researching on contemporary African art in the context of, not only in the context of Spain, but the way in which it was received in Western culture. Right? So this is my starting point. And I researched on that considering myself as a curator and also as a subject of post-colonial research. And understand it, as I said before, the space of art as a space of translation, and the space that will allow me, an exhibition that will allow me, or a project, or a conference, or whatever, a platform that will allow me to exchange my concerns regarding who I am and what it means who I am in this context. So somehow, if you take a look at what I said, what I wrote in the catalog, it has to do with two ways of thinking. On the one hand, you have the way in which Africa has been defined by Western societies and how that, for the most part, intensifies, I think, the way in which African art is received, the way in which Africa is considered, the way in which Africa is being portrayed and overexposed, from my point of view, for many, many years. And on the other hand is somebody that is trying to also to show how being African means something larger than belonging to a geographical context, something larger than belonging to a temporal context, and something that can connect you with people in North America, South America, also, of course, with people in the continent, but having the diaspora as a very, very strong concept to work with. And in order to do so, also, I would like to introduce you two projects that I did in Madrid that I think it will somehow we're trying to challenge the established canons and connection, because I think for me, the crisis that we are talking about has to do more with history of art and cultural studies, visual studies, and visual art for me are somehow following up with all these nuances, with all these empty spaces that history of art is leaving apart for all of those cultures that cannot fit into the specific canon that history of art establishes, right? So somehow what I'm trying to do in the projects I have done is to challenge that from the perspective of the African artists or African art productions, and also that has to do with the way in which African are doing that. And I did these two projects that are called Invisible Art. I didn't invent the project. That was a project that was running from 2006.
And it's a coincidence with the Invisible Museum.
No, everything is a coincidence. There is no coincidence in that. No, I think the project was first.
No.
The 2006 project was
2006?
Yeah. No, it's a longer shot. Anyway, so what happened with that is that they prepared this project that was set up by categories like country being the way of representing Africa. So they wanted to do like let's say an encyclopedia of art in Africa within the art fair. So I said to them, no, we should try to challenge that. We should try to challenge the geographical position. We should try to challenge the way in which Africa has been portrayed in Spain. So we should display something completely different. And that's with our first project started. I will show you briefly, since I cannot go through internet, I will show you here some images of what the project constitutes. When we talk about invisibility in this context, it was about, I would like to use the, this is the Spanish Agency of International Cooperation and Development, that's supposed to be the institution that runs that program. Right? And we wanted to also to challenge the kind of cooperation that used to happen in Spain.
Could you move the screen just a little bit?
Yeah.
Not in the other sense? Yeah, great.
So invisible art in this context, for me, was to try to challenge also the idea they have about the invisibility of art, right? So Covina Mercer in Cosmopolitan Modernities points out that nowadays, since 1990 onwards, what happened is that it seems that African art has more attention from the audience and from the media and from institutions. That means that these artists became visible now. So that's what we are questioning in this project. So what we did also was to challenge the way that artists were displayed at Arco. First of all, we, now I have to translate from the Spanish, sorry. So we try to avoid the geographical division. So we invite artists by itself, not by countries, because of course when you get to the mainstream or to the market, it's because your own work. So I always defend that being an African is not per se an aesthetical value, right? So it's something that applies to your work, but it's not necessarily what determines your work. So then, one of the other things that I incorporate to the program is the collective dynamics. So what it was happening in Africa, in the territory, what the artistic collective were doing, this kind of stuff. So at the beginning, hold on a second. Okay, now we are entering to the place. Sorry. So this is the work of Nasty Mosquito.
How many artists in there?
The first project were 9 artists, also, if I'm not mistaken, 6 collective, and we did also a forum, because for me it was important first having the artists in the space, because sometimes there is no place for artists to explain about their own work. That's why I wanted to put the video, because in the video they are explaining their own work. Then the second one was to have a space of reflection. So we interfere in the forum. Arco celebrates a forum on curatorial, exhibition, etc. So I wanted to set up a project on the market, how African artists get into the market. So we made the first project on that. And also a small space that was devoted to this space that you have here, to have internet connection to the website of the artistic collective participating in the project, and having as well documentation of this collective and also catalog of books that were related to the topic in many ways.